So today we're going to look at solving some more advanced linear equations. This problem here has 3 times the quantity x minus 8 equals 6. So I'm actually going to show you 2 different ways to solve this problem, just to give you an example of how there's often multiple ways to solve a problem in algebra. So I'm going to start by multiplying both of my items inside my parentheses by my 3. So I'm going to distribute that and have 3x minus 24 equals 6. And again, what we've talked about is that the whole object of this game is to get the variable by itself. So what I want to do is I want to move anything that's being added or subtracted from that variable. So I'm going to do plus 24 to get rid of that minus 24. And again, keeping in mind that that equal sign is the balance of the equation. So when I say on both sides, it would be on the left side and the right side of the equal sign. So negative 24 and positive 24 make 0, so they cancel out. I'm going to bring down my 3x equals 6 plus 24 is going to give me 30. That 3 is being multiplied by the x, so I'm going to divide to undo that multiplication. 3 divided by 3 makes 1, so we can cross that out. And x equals 30 divided by 3, which is 10. So I'm going to go over here on the right side of the screen, and I'm going to solve this same problem, but I'm going to show you that in algebra there's usually multiple ways you can solve problems. And I'm going to show you another example. So in this problem, we have 3 being multiplied by x minus 8. So since 3 is being multiplied by x minus 8, that quantity, I can simply divide both sides by 3 instead of distributing. So I'm going to cancel those out by dividing by 3, and I'm left with the x minus 8 equals, well, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now I have x minus 8 equals 2, so I'm going to add 8 to both sides. Again, the equal sign is that middle of the equation where we're talking about both sides. That will cancel out and give me x equals 10. So I can see that I got the same answer even though I solved the problem 2 different ways. And that's very common when you're working in algebra. Let's take a look at another problem. So in this problem here, I have the quantity c minus 16 divided by negative 1. And again, the object of the game is to get c by itself. Now, in the previous problem, I told you we were going to get rid of whatever was being added or subtracted from the variable before we worried about the multiplication and division. But this one's a little bit tricky. This c minus 16, because it's on the top of this fraction and the fraction bar goes underneath the whole thing, is actually like having parentheses around that. And if we have parentheses around that, we have to get rid of what's underneath there before we can take care of what's on top. So in other words, we have to get rid of that negative 1 before we can take care of that minus 16 or that negative 16. So since it's being divided by negative 1, we're going to multiply both sides by negative 1 to get rid of that. Because if you multiply and divide by the same number, they undo each other and we can just cross them off. So that leaves me with c minus 16 equals negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. So then I say, okay, well now I have 16 that's being subtracted from c. Again, the object is to get c by itself. So I'm going to undo that or do the opposite of that and do plus 16. That will cancel out, leaving me with c equals 2 plus 16, which is 18. Awesome. Let's take a look at our third example now. All right, in our third example, we have 16a plus 5a minus 17a plus 2 equals 14. This looks like a super long problem, but don't fret. I'm going to show you some strategies for simplifying this. The first thing we're going to look for here is, we don't have any parentheses that we need to distribute, but we're going to see if we have any like terms that we can combine, meaning any numbers that have the same, or any pieces that have the same variable, or any things that are constants that don't have variables that we can combine. So if I look here, I've got a 16a here, then I've got a plus 5a here, and then I have a minus 17a here. Since those are all a values, we can combine all of those. They're all on the same side of the equation. Remember, your equal is your balance on your equation. Everything is on the same side, so we can put them all together. They're all a values, so we're simply going to combine them. So it'd be 16 plus 5 was 21a, minus 17 is going to leave me with 4a. So in one step, I can add all of those things together. And you can see how I've simplified that. So I'm even going to move that over so that it looks a little bit more like an equation there. But I combined those three pieces in one step. I took 16a plus 5a minus 17a, and it gave me 4a. I brought down my plus 2, my equals, and my 14. Now I'm back to a two-step equation. So I'm going to start by, again, we're trying to get a by itself. I'm going to start by subtracting 2 from both sides. That's going to leave me with 4a, because this will cancel out, equals 14 minus 2, which is 12. The last step is to divide by 4, so a equals 3. Awesome. Let's take a look at another one. So in this problem, we've got some items that need to be distributed. So let's start there. Let's take this 2 and let's multiply it by both pieces inside the parentheses. So we're going to have 2y minus 10. Then I'm going to bring down this plus 2 equals 8. So again, the object of the game is to get the y by itself. But I'm going to notice here that I have some things that I can combine. I've got some like terms. This minus 10 and this plus 2 are both what we call constants, meaning they don't have a variable. So let's put those pieces together. So my 2y remains the same. If I have negative 10 and positive 2 and I put them together, that's going to leave me with minus 8 or negative 8. And then my equal 8 just comes straight down from that part of the equation there. We're just going to bring that part down. All right, so now we're back to a two-step equation. And again, the object of the game in the two-step equation is to get the variable by itself. So we're going to do plus 8 to both sides to move that minus 8 to get rid of that minus 8. That'll cancel out. We bring down our 2y, and 8 plus 8 is 16. To get rid of the 2 that's in front of the y, since it's being multiplied, we divide because that's the opposite operation. So y equals 16 divided by 2, which is 8. All right, we're going to look at one more problem, and this one gets a little bit more challenging because we have decimals in it. But we're going to treat the decimals the same way that we've been treating the whole numbers. So when I look here, again, I have this number at the top of this fraction. You're going to see that the fraction bar is around or underneath this entire thing. So we're going to treat that like it's within parentheses. And because of that, we have to multiply both sides by 4 to get rid of this divided by 4 at the bottom. So if we multiply both sides by 4, it's going to get rid of that there. So we're going to have n minus 5.88 or 5 and 88 hundredths, and that's going to equal our 2.04 or 2 and 4 hundredths times 4. That gives me 8 and 16 hundredths. All right, my next step is I have to focus on getting this variable by itself. Since we have a minus 5.88 or 5 and 88 hundredths, we're going to add that to both sides, keeping in mind that when I say both sides, I mean that equal sign serves as the balance of one side versus the other. On the left side, those two are going to cancel out, and I'm going to be left with n equals. If I add these two together on the right side, I'm going to end up with 14 and 4 hundredths.